In this video, we're going to talk about props in React. Props, which is short for properties, is a way to pass data into your component when you first start it. So down here, we have our greeter component, and we're initializing it, but we're not passing it any data. It would be pretty cool if we could specify the name to print right here. So if I were to pass a name attribute, or prop, into greeter, it could say something like hello Andrew or hello Jen. Right now, all it says is hello React. So to kick things off, we're going to first add our prop onto our greeter call right here. And passing a prop into a component is as simple as adding a new HTML attribute. So if I wanted to add the name property, I would type name and set it equal to whatever value I wanted to pass in. In this case, I'm just going to pass in my name in quotes. Go ahead and use your first name. And now we have our prop passed in. It's going to be available to us inside of our greeter component. All we have to do is pull it out inside of render and replace it with this React word. So the first step is to access it, and we can do this via this.props object. The this.props object stores all of our props. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the name variable, this.props.name. So we've passed in our prop. We have it accessible as a variable in our render function. The last thing to do is actually show it to the screen. To do this, we're going to use the JavaScript expression feature of JSX that's going to let us run a little JavaScript code right in our template and output the result to the screen. So in this case, I'm going to delete the React word, and to add a JavaScript expression, I have to open and close curly braces. And right inside, all I need to do is type name, since we already have the prop stored on the name variable. And with this in place, we're good to go. I can save the file, start the server from the terminal using node server.js. Now, over inside of the browser, I can visit localhost 3000, and you can see hello Andrew prints to the screen, and this is awesome. We now have a component that becomes a little more useful because we can pass data to it. Now, if we remove the name property, save the file, and refresh the browser, you notice that our component still tries to render, but it doesn't have all the data it needs. In order to fix this, we're going to provide a default value for the name prop. So if I pass in a name like Andrew, it'll print hello Andrew, and if I don't, it'll still print hello React. To do this, we're going to be using a new method that comes built in with React called getDefaultProps. To use getDefaultProps, all we have to do is define it, just like we defined our render method. GetDefaultProps. It's going to be a function, and it doesn't take any arguments. It looks just like that. And it's going to return an object of properties. So it's going to return whatever we want to set this.props to. Now they're defaults. So if I specify a name property in getDefaultProps and I pass a name in, the one I passed in is going to get used. Inside of getDefaultProps, all I'm going to do is return an object, and that object is going to have one property, name, and I'm going to set it equal to React. Now we have a slightly more foolproof component. If we pass a name in, great, we're going to use it. If we don't, we're going to use our default prop. With my file saved over in the browser, I'm going to refresh. You can see hello React prints. Now I'm going to re-add my name property, setting it equal to Andrew, save the file, refresh the browser, and you can see hello Andrew prints to the screen, which is fantastic. We now know how to pass data into our components, and inside the components, we can always provide defaults if that data wasn't provided. The next thing I want to do is show you how you can pass in other types into your props. Let's assume I have a variable I want to use, and this variable could be any type. In this case, it's going to be a name that equals the string Andrew. Now it could be an object or an array, and to use it, instead of putting quotes after the equals signs, we're going to insert a JavaScript expression just like this by opening and closing the curly braces. Inside of here, we can type the variable name. In our case, that variable name is name, but it could be anything. So I'm going to change it to first name so you can see what exactly is going on. And if I save the file, refresh the browser, you can see Hello Andrew still prints to the screen. While we're only using strings in this example, any type is available when you're working with props. Now, let's go ahead and do a quick challenge. Your challenge is going to be to add a message prop to our greeter class. The message prop should have a default that says this is from a component right here. And if a message is provided down below, then you're going to want to use that. Instead of printing this is from a component inside of the paragraph tag, you're going to print out the message prop instead. All right, go ahead and add the message prop, giving it a default. Make sure to test it with and without the default, and check the browser to make sure everything looks okay. All right, pause the video, knock this out, and when you're done, go ahead and click play. To kick things off, the first thing I'm going to do is pass in a prop to greeter. This one's going to be called message. Whoops, there we go. And I'm going to set it equal to message from prop. With this in place, we can now use the render method, creating a new variable called message that's equal to this.props.message. And down here in the render function, we're going to remove this text, and we're going to open up curly braces so we can add our JavaScript expression right in here. And it's important to note that I don't just have to type a variable name. I could reference this.props.message, but that makes your code more confusing. I could also take values, like our message string, and add stuff to them, anything you can do in JavaScript. So in this case, I'm adding a couple more exclamation marks onto the message value. And with this in place, I should be able to save my file, refresh it in the browser, and you can see everything worked. First up, our prop is indeed displayed, message from prop with 1 exclamation mark, and inside of the same JavaScript expression, we were able to use regular JavaScript operators to concatenate 2 more exclamation marks. The last thing to do to complete the challenge is to add a default. Right now, if I get rid of the message prop completely, save the file, and refresh the browser, the component is going to crash. It's trying to find a property that's undefined. To fix this issue, what we're going to do is provide a default message and set it equal to this is the default message. Now if I save my file and refresh it from the browser, you can see we have our default message prop followed by our 2 exclamation marks. Hopefully you were able to get that done without too much trouble. If you ran into some errors and you had to watch me do it in order to get yours to work, that's perfectly fine. We're going to be creating so many apps in this course, by the end I promise you'll have mastered all of this. For now though, we're just introducing new concepts, so by nature they're going to be a little challenging. Alright, that's it for this video. I look forward to seeing you next time.